Chapter 15 was about being generous. Not long after, they arrived at the bamboo garden. Xuan dropped him off at the entrance of the bamboo garden before letting go. "We're here," she said. It seemed like she had no intention of sending him into the courtyard. The man looked at her and said politely, "I'll have to trouble you to send me back. The weather is hot, and you pushed me all the way here. You must be thirsty, so why don't you come in and have a cup of tea before you leave?" "There's no need. The lunch that Grandma Jiang had someone prepare for me has already been sent to my small courtyard. If I don't go back now, the food will get cold." One sentence revealed a lot of information. The man did not force her, and it seemed like he was just asking out of courtesy. He handed the book to her. "Then I won't stay any longer. Thank you for sending me back, miss. I'll visit you another day to thank you." Xuan took the book and smiled. "It's nothing. You're welcome." She nodded and turned to leave. A young man in his 30s walked out of the courtyard. "Fifth master, you go in," the man said. The girl had already walked far away. The young man stopped staring at the girl's back and looked at the person who spoke, interrupting him. Jiang looked at Xuan's back as she walked away. Then he walked over and pushed the wheelchair into the house. He did not ask anything. When the wheelchair entered the courtyard, Jiang heard the man ask, "Not long ago, the housekeeper came to report that a guest was staying in the old house. Is it a country girl who once saved Grandma Jiang?" "Yes, fifth master." Jiang recalled that half a month ago, Jiang Hai came to the bamboo garden one night. At that time, fifth master was sitting on the sofa reading a newspaper. He was sitting at the side, doing nothing and playing games with his phone on mute. When Jiang Hai came, Master Five's eyes were on the newspaper in his hand, except for the initial glance at Jiang Hai. It was clear that the fifth master did not care about this matter at that time, but now he had asked about it. It seemed that the girl who had sent fifth master back just now was the guest in the old residence. "What's her name?" Jiang was surprised, but he did not show it on his face. "Xuan, she of the west, Yan of the clouds." "Xuan." The man murmured the name softly, and there was an indescribable sense of attachment. "A girl from the countryside?" he asked again. "Yes, fifth master. I've checked. Miss Shi has indeed lived in the countryside for many years. She used to live with her grandmother. Since her grandmother passed away at the age of 13, she has lived alone until now. However, before Miss Shi was 10 years old, she did not live in that village with her grandmother. The information I found was that Miss Shi's grandmother, who had been away from home for many years, returned to her hometown with her only granddaughter after her son and daughter-in-law died in an accident." Seeing the man looking at him, Jiang quickly explained without waiting for the man to ask. "A stranger suddenly came to live in the Jiang family's old house in Sea City, so I had to find out the details. After all, fifth master, you are living here now." "Where did she live before she was 10 years old?" "I couldn't find out." Jiang expression became more serious when he said this. Jiang Hai had reported that there would be a guest staying in the old residence. Even though he didn't hear much from Jiang Hai about this matter at that time, he had sent people to investigate it in detail afterward. However, even though he personally sent people to investigate, he couldn't find out where Xuan lived before she was 10 years old. No one in the neighborhood knew where the old lady and her granddaughter Xuan lived before they returned to their hometown. Other than the deceased old lady, Xuan was the only person who knew. "You can't find out?" The man repeated his words, but there was not much surprise on his face. Perhaps it was because he was used to not showing his emotions, or perhaps he already had a guess. Without saying anything else, Jiang pushed him into the house. After hesitating for a moment, Jiang asked, "Fifth master, do you need me to send people to investigate further?" In fact, the people he had sent out had not returned yet and were still continuing to investigate. The main reason he asked this was because he could tell that Fifth Master had a different attitude towards Miss She. He wanted to know if those people who had already been sent out to investigate should stay behind and continue to investigate, or should they be called back. Speaking of the Fifth Master's different attitude toward Miss She, Jiang Lin couldn't help but recall the scene outside the door just now. It was one thing to have Miss She send him back, but the Fifth Master had actually invited her into the house to drink tea. When had the Fifth Master ever taken the initiative to invite anyone into his courtyard? Even the number of people from the Jiang family who had set foot in this courtyard so far could be counted on one hand. "There's no need," the man said indifferently. In other words, he could call back all the people he had sent out. Jiang Lin immediately understood. Xiao Zhao poured a cup of warm water for Xuan and placed it beside her hand. Seeing that Xuan's smile was brighter than usual, she could not help but ask with a smile, "Miss She, I see that you're in a good mood. Is today's food especially appetizing?" "Yes, it's especially appetizing," Xuan replied with a faint smile. "Sister Zhao, have you eaten? Do you want to sit down and eat?" "I've eaten, so you don't have to care about me. Are today's dishes to Miss She's liking? In that case, I'll have the kitchen prepare these few dishes every few days and send them to Miss She." "Sure. Thank you, Sister Zhao." Good-looking people were very pleasing to the eye. Good-looking people who liked to smile were even more pleasing to the eye. Xiao Zhao felt that every moment she spent with Xuan was a feast for the eyes, and her mood improved as well. "Oh, right. Miss She, why are you only back now? Did you run into something? Or did you run into someone that delayed your return?" After spending so many days together, Xiao Zhao already understood that Xuan was a person who had a very good sense of time. She never procrastinated on her work. Every time she asked her to come back for dinner, if she was reading at the Lotus Pond Pavilion, she would be back in 15 minutes at the latest. Today, from the time she called Miss She to the time she came back, about 40 minutes had passed. It was just that the weather was relatively hot. Otherwise, the dishes would have been cold. "I did meet someone," Xuan said with a smile. There was nothing to hide. Unless she did not have any contact with him in the future, someone would find out sooner or later. Rather than hiding, it was better to be generous. "Who did Miss She meet? Is it someone else from the family who came back for tonight's banquet, or a guest?" The Jiang family's old residence was very large and had many owners. Little Zhao was not very clear about when a guest would come to the house. She also did not think that the person who could delay Xuan's return for dinner would be a servant of the family, so she had asked. "I'm not sure if it was a guest or someone else who came back to attend the family banquet. I didn't ask much, but that person was sitting in a wheelchair." With a clang, little Zhao's phone fell from her hand to the ground in shock. "Miss She, you said that the person you met was sitting in a wheelchair?" After spending so much time with Xuan, little Zhao was more stable. Now that she had such a big reaction, Xuan could not help but raise her eyebrows. "Yeah, what's wrong?" She glanced at Xiao Zhao's phone that had fallen to the ground and said, "Pick up the phone first and see if it's broken." Who would still be in the mood to care about a phone now? Xiao Zhao screamed in her heart. But she was afraid that her big reaction would scare Xuan. She tried hard to suppress the shock and worry in her heart, and picked up the phone first. "It's okay, it's not broken," Xuan said, as she looked at the phone in Xiao Zhao's hand. Xiao Zhao really wasn't in the mood to care about the phone. She put the black screen aside and asked anxiously, "Miss She, is the person you saw a man or a woman? How old were they? What did they look like?" In fact, she already had a guess in her heart, but Xiao Zhao still wanted to ask one thing. What if she was wrong, and Miss She didn't meet the person she thought she had met? A man in his 20s. He looked very good-looking. In fact, the word good-looking was not enough to describe that person. Even she, who had never been affected by beauty, was amazed. How could he be as simple as good-looking? Xiao Zhao was anxious. Then, Miss Shi, you delayed your time and came back late because you bumped into the other party and were left behind? Chapter 16 was about the fifth master of the Jiang family. That's not true. Bump? Why would she bump into the others for no reason? After spending so much time together, little Zhao had a rough idea of her personality and knew that she would not easily clash with others. Then, the meeting that little Zhao was talking about was definitely not what she had imagined. Could it be that in little Zhao's eyes, meeting the other party was a clash? Was it that exaggerated? Or could it be that the person was that scary? After Xiao Zhao heard what she said, she clearly heaved a sigh of relief and said repeatedly, "It's good that you didn't. It's good that you didn't." Xuan glanced at her and changed the topic. "However, I sent him back." Xiao Zhao's eyes widened. After a long while, she said, "Miss Shi, I didn't quite hear what you said just now. Could you say it again?" Xuan repeated with a faint smile, "I sent him back. He was sitting in a wheelchair by himself at the lotus pond. There wasn't anyone around him. I was afraid that it wouldn't be safe for him to stay there alone, but I was also worried that it wouldn't be convenient for him to go back alone, so I took the initiative to send him back. In fact, if he could appear there alone in a wheelchair, how could he not go back alone?" After listening to her words, little Zhao did not know how to describe her current mood. She wanted to ask so many questions, but what she wanted to ask the most was, You offered to send him back and he agreed? Is this very surprising? It's more than surprising. Realizing that her reaction was too great, little Zhao quickly took a deep breath to calm her emotions and forced a smile. "Miss Shi, I'm sorry. I was just so surprised." "It's nothing," Xuan said with a light smile. "But Sister Zhao, I saw that you had such a big reaction. Is that gentleman usually very scary?" "That gentleman? Miss Shi, do you know who you met?" Little Zhao was extremely surprised. Xuan smiled lightly and indifferently. "I have a guess. I sent him to the bamboo garden, but I'm still not very sure of his identity." How could she not be sure? Even without asking, the other party was obviously the owner of the bamboo garden, so it was not difficult to guess his identity. Xiao Zhao exhaled lightly and said, "He was sent to the bamboo garden, and he was sitting in a wheelchair. He was also in his 20s and had an outstanding appearance. In the old house, only the fifth master matches that description." "So that gentleman is the fifth master?" "Most likely." "Miss Shi, did you meet Master 5 at the pavilion in the lotus pond?" Xuan nodded. "Master Wu seldom goes out. I've only met him twice in all my years working in the Jiang family's old mansion. One time was at the annual banquet the year before last year, and the other time was when I saw him from afar in the old mansion last year." "You actually met him not long after you came to the old mansion?" This time, including the time when she met Master Wu's car at the gate, Miss Shi had met Master Wu twice in less than 20 days. Such luck. Fifth Master is not scary. On the contrary, he has a gentle temperament and rarely gives anyone a cold look. Xuan paused for a moment before she asked with a chuckle, "Then why do I hear you all look extremely afraid of the fifth master when you mention him?" Xiao Zhao was slightly stunned. After a moment of hesitation, she shook his head and said, "This, I can't really say. When the fifth master sits there, he has a kind of dignity that no one dares to offend. For some reason, we're a little afraid of him. It's not just me. Among the people I know in the old mansion, those who have the fortune to meet Master 5 have similar feelings as me. Moreover, everyone in the old mansion knows that the fifth master is not in good health and likes the quiet. He usually doesn't like to be disturbed by others. Naturally, when everyone mentions the fifth master, they have more concerns and taboos." Was that so? Xuan took a deep look at little Zhao and said with a smile, So that's how it is. She did not ask any more questions and continued eating. The way she ate was very elegant. Just looking at it was a kind of enjoyment. However, she did not ask any more, and little Zhao did not intend to stop this topic. Little Zhao looked at her and hesitated for a moment before asking, "Miss Shi, did you really just meet the fifth master and send him back to the bamboo garden? Nothing happened during this period of time." "No," Xuan said with a faint smile. Little Zhao was secretly shocked. After adjusting her mood, she slowly calmed down. Looking at Xuan, who was as calm as before and eating quietly, she could not help but ask, "Miss Shi, aren't you at all curious about the fifth master?" "Curious about what?" "For example, how his body was not in good health, when his bad health began, why he was sitting in a wheelchair, and so on." "I'm not curious," Xuan said with a smile. She was curious, but she did not intend to find out from others. She would not inquire about the information about the fifth master Jiang so indirectly. Xiao Zhao saw that she was not lying and was really not curious, so she secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed like she wanted to remind Xuan about something, but in the end she did not say anything. Xuan didn't seem to notice Xiao Zhao's hesitation, continuing to eat her meal with an indifferent expression. Asterisk. A day passed quickly, and a few cars entered the Jiang family's old residence, one after another. It was the other members of the Jiang family who had rushed back to attend the family banquet. As they had to wait for the others, the family banquet was a little later than the usual dinner time. As a result, Xuan was still watching the local news broadcast in the living room of her small building at around 6:40 a.m. Logically speaking, Xuan was only a guest at the Jiang family's family banquet, so it was not appropriate for her to attend. She had originally planned not to go, even though Grandma Jiang had asked her to go again and again. However, Xuan did not refuse at all today. Xiao Zhao reminded her that the dinner would not be delivered. She said that Grandma Jiang asked her to go to the main building to attend the family banquet together, so she nodded and agreed. After lunch and a lunch break, Jiang Rui did not come to look for her. It seemed that she wanted to help Grandma Jiang keep an eye on the kitchen and wait for the family banquet time before coming over to ask her to come along. Xuan was currently waiting for Jiang Rui to call for her. The courtyard she lived in and Jiang Rui's courtyard were on both sides of Grandma Jiang's courtyard. Jiang Rui wanted to pass by the entrance of her courtyard when she went to the main building. After a few minutes, a shout came from outside the courtyard. "Xiaoyan, let's go!" It was Jiang Rui's voice. Xuan turned off the television and took her phone out. When she left the courtyard, she realized that apart from Jiang Rui, Grandma Jiang and Jiang Sheng were also there. Xuan greeted them one by one. "Grandma Jiang, Ruier, young Master Jiang." Grandma Jiang waved at her. "Little Yan, come over and help Grandma Jiang. I'm getting old and my legs aren't working properly." Jiang Cheng and Jiang Rui were speechless. She was so energetic just a moment ago and didn't want anyone to help her. Now her legs weren't working properly. Xuan walked over to help Grandma Jiang. Grandma Jiang said to Jiang Cheng and Jiang Rui, "You two go ahead. I have something to say to little Yan alone." Jiang Rui and Jiang Cheng looked at each other. Although they were suspicious, they did not ask much. "Let's go, brother." Jiang Rui held Jiang Cheng's hand and quickened her pace. The two of them were quite a distance away from each other. Grandma Jiang then patted Xuan's hand and asked gently, "Xiaoyan, I heard from Xiao Zhao that you met the fifth master at the Lotus Pond Pavilion in the afternoon." Xiao Zhao was someone that Grandma Jiang had sent to take care of her. Since Xuan had told Xiao Zhao about this, she did not think that she would be able to hide it from Grandma Jiang. It was within her expectations that Grandma Jiang would ask about it. However, she did not expect Grandma Jiang to ask about it so quickly. It seemed that the fifth Master Jiang was really special in the Jiang family. "Yes, Grandma Jiang. At first, I didn't know it was the fifth Master Jiang. I only saw him appear there alone in a wheelchair, without anyone by his side. I was worried that it would be inconvenient for him to go back, so I suggested sending him off. I only made a slight guess about his identity after sending him to the bamboo garden. Grandma Jiang, is there anything wrong? Chapter 17. Xuan was a good thing. No, there's nothing wrong with it. Grandma Jiang shook her head and said. Then she looked at Xuan and added, It's just... As she said that, she suddenly stopped. Xuan saw it in her eyes and did not urge her to continue. She waited quietly for her to speak. It was as Grandma Jiang said, she was an excellent listener. If Grandma Jiang did not say anything, she did not intend to ask further. Grandma Jiang was very fond of her quiet and courteous manner. After a moment of hesitation, she said, As for Lao Wu, I have rarely mentioned him to you. You should know very little about him. Xuan gave a non-committal and elegant smile. Lao Wu used to be a doctor with excellent medical skills. He once worked in a hospital in Jingdu. Although Lao Wu used to have a thin temperament, he was much more spirited than he is now. All the changes came from the car accident 3 years ago. Car accident? Xuan recalled the sickly appearance of that person who was as gentle as jade, sitting in a wheelchair. Her expression finally changed slightly. In that car accident, Lao Wu suffered extremely serious injuries and was almost unable to be saved. At this point, Grandma Jiang let out a long sigh. Fortunately, Lao Wu's achievements in the medical world were not small. He made many powerful colleagues and friends, which was why he was able to survive due to the combined efforts of many experts. However, Lao Wu's body was also greatly affected because of this. He had no choice but to quit his job and go home to recuperate. This period of recuperation lasted for 3 years. Then now Xuan finally could not help but ask. Grandma Jiang looked at her and met her calm gaze. She paused and said, It doesn't affect his normal life, but his body is still fundamentally injured. He needs to rest well while having regular checkups. Ever since the car accident 3 years ago, Fifth Brother likes to lock himself in the yard and doesn't like to be disturbed by others. Unless he wants to go out, no one can invite him. It was very rare for you to meet him in the yard today. He hasn't liked to interact with others since he came back 3 years ago. It's even rarer for him to agree to let you send him back. Grandma Jiang wouldn't say these things for no reason, but Xuan didn't ask any further. Instead, she quietly waited for Grandma Jiang to continue. Sure enough, after a few steps, Grandma Jiang spoke again. Xiaoyan, Grandma Jiang treats you as her own granddaughter. From your standpoint, I'm thinking of you. Grandma Jiang actually doesn't approve of you interacting with Lao Wu much, but Grandma Jiang still wants to be selfish for once. Xuan was a little puzzled, but she didn't show it on her face. Grandma Jiang, feel free to say what you want to say. Her voice was elegant and ethereal, and her tone was indifferent, as if she wasn't very curious about what the old lady was going to say next. She was just like that. She didn't care about anything, and was able to deal with anything calmly. When the old lady met her 3 years ago, what she admired the most was her unchanging attitude, even when Mount Tai collapsed. 3 years ago, she was only 16 years old. 3 years had passed, and she was even more reserved and steady than she was back then. Just by looking at it like that, even Grandma Jiang, who had seen countless people, could not see the true thoughts in her heart. However, Grandma Jiang had no intention of getting to the bottom of it. When facing Xuan, she relied on her many years of vision and intuition. Xuan gave her a very good feeling, and she liked and admired her very much. That was enough. As for the rest, Grandma Jiang did not care. This was obvious when Grandma Jiang reminded Jiang Sheng not to investigate Xuan. This is the first time in 3 years that I've seen Lao Wu willing to interact with others. So if it is possible, Grandma Jiang hopes that you can interact with him more. His health isn't good, and he always locks himself in the courtyard and doesn't go out. It's not good for him to only rest and recuperate. It's good to go out more, even if it's just to walk around the courtyard. Of course, this is Grandma Jiang's selfishness. If you're not willing, you don't have to worry about Grandma Jiang. Everything is based on your wishes. From your standpoint, Grandma Jiang doesn't approve of you having more contact with Fifth Master Jiang. Grandma Jiang was very honest. Xuan liked this kind of honesty. Moreover, Grandma Jiang's words, they were exactly what she wanted. Naturally, Grandma Jiang said that she would consider her position and disapprove of her having more contact with Fifth Master Jiang. There must be a reason for this. Was this the only reason? Did she care? No. She had no desires for so many years and had finally met what she wanted. Regardless of whether the road ahead was smooth or full of thorns, she would not back down. Moreover, she was not a person who was afraid of trouble. This is not a big deal. Grandma Jiang, you don't have to be like this. Although I have only had contact with Fifth Master Jiang for a short time, I can feel that he is a gentle person. If I can help Fifth Master Jiang, I will do my best. She agreed, and Grandma Jiang was naturally happy. However, after the joy, she hesitated again. But Xiaoyan, it may not be a good thing for you to have a lot of interactions with Fifth Master Jiang. How could it not be a good thing? Xiaoyan raised her eyebrows and smiled. Although I don't quite understand what you mean, I know that you are worrying too much. Grandma Jiang stared at her for a few seconds, and suddenly smiled. Then I'll have to ask Xiaoyan to take care of Lao Wu. As long as you can get him to go out more, you will be a big help. Grandma Jiang, don't expect too much from me. Otherwise, I won't be able to help and will only disappoint you. I can only say that I'll do my best, Xuan said with a faint smile. Just do your best. I won't force you. A few minutes later, they arrived at the main building. They went straight to the restaurant on the second floor. By the time they arrived, everyone else had arrived. Actually, there weren't many people. There were only 4 people. The eldest couple and the second wife. The second wife's son, the second young master of the Jiang family, had gone on a vacation with his friends during summer vacation. He hadn't come back, and the third master of the Jiang family was out filming, so he couldn't make it back in time. On the way here, Grandma Jiang told Xuan that everyone else had arrived and were waiting for them. At that time, Xuan was filled with a little anticipation. But when she walked into the restaurant and saw only 4 people, she could not help but feel a little disappointed. However, her emotions were not obvious. They disappeared in an instant, so even Grandma Jiang did not notice. It's just that the family banquet is not a grand banquet. Only our own family members will come back for dinner. The collateral family members and relatives will not come today. Xiaoyan, you don't have to be nervous, Jiang Rui said to Xuan from the side. Xuan knew that if it was a family banquet, it would only be their own family members. Xiao Zhao had mentioned this to her before. Jiang Rui's voice was not soft, and the 4 people sitting at the main table heard it. When they looked over, they stood up in unison. Mom. The 4 of them greeted Grandma Jiang one after another. Jiang Cheng and Jiang Rui also greeted the 4 of them in turn. Only then did the 4 of them turn their attention to Xuan. This is Xiaoyan, right? I've long heard about you from Mom. Logically speaking, since you saved Mom, we should have gone to your house to thank you personally. However, Mom said that you like to be quiet and that you're busy with your studies, so you usually stay at school and don't come home often. She told us not to disturb you, which is why we haven't had the chance to meet you. The one who spoke was the eldest madam of the Jiang family, Kong Xiangxiang. She was 50 years old this year and still had her charm. She was also Jiang Rui and Jiang Cheng's mother. It's fine now, however. You've come to stay at our house. We can meet whenever you want. The conditions here in Sea City are better than those at your place. There are also many people in the Jiang family. In the future, you can stay here peacefully. We'll take good care of you. Just treat this place as your own home. Kong Xiangxiang was very warm. Her words sounded normal, but they made Grandma Jiang frown. The smile on Jiang Rui's face froze slightly, and she subconsciously looked at Xuan. Seeing that Xuan's faint smile was still there, Jiang Rui secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Mom really was too much. Why would she compare the conditions in Xiaoyan's family to this place? Why did she mention that Xiaoyan came to stay at their house? Xiaoyan was obviously a guest invited by her grandmother, after many invitations. Mother's words were too inappropriate. If Xiaoyan was a sensitive person, she would feel very uncomfortable. Jiang Rui was about to say something to smooth things over when Grandma Jiang said, "All right, sit down." Everyone could feel Grandma Jiang's displeasure. Chapter 18. Acknowledged her as an adopted granddaughter. The others did not agree with Kong Xiangxiang's words. Fortunately, her words were not very obvious, and Xuan did not seem to have heard it, so they did not say it out loud. After they sat down, the second lady of the Jiang family, Fang Xiaoyu, poured tea for them and said to Xuan, "I received Xiaoyan's gift. It's very beautiful. I like it very much." Grandma Jiang had already asked someone to pass the gift that Xuan had given them for their meeting. Xuan smiled faintly. It's good that the second lady likes it. Speaking of gifts, Xiaoyan, we haven't even gone to this embroidery shop. I asked you to take me there, but we've been busy playing for the past few days. When are we free to make a trip there? Jiang Rui asked. She mainly wanted to ease the delicate atmosphere brought about just now by Kong Xiangxiang's words. Sure. Fang Xiaoyu also said, if it's possible, I would also like to go and have a look. Such exquisite embroidery is indeed rare in ordinary shops. It's a pity that I'm busy with work and don't have much free time, so I can't go with you guys. Then second aunt can go when she's free. I'll go with you when Xiaoyan takes me to check out the spots. That's good. A few of them chatted, mostly Jiang Rui and Fang Xiaoyu. Kong Xiangxiang had not spoken since they sat down. Grandma Jiang had some complaints about this, but she did not point it out in public. However, after this, Xuan got to know most of the Jiang family in Sea City. The eldest master of the Jiang family, Jiang, was 52 years old. He was the previous leader of the Jiang family. Even though he had retired, he still had an imposing aura about him. In terms of temperament, Jiang Cheng was a bit like him. The eldest madam of the Jiang family, Kong Xiangxiang, was a standard noblewoman. The second master of the Jiang family, Jiang Fan, was 45 years old. He wore a pair of glasses and was a standard scientific researcher. The second madam of the Jiang family, Fang Xiaoyu, was 43 years old. She had a beautiful face, but she had a standard scholarly temperament. She was talkative and enthusiastic. Xuan did not talk much. She would only answer when someone asked about her. Under normal circumstances, she was a qualified listener. She sat there quietly and listened to others with a faint smile. It would not make people think that she was rude, nor would it make people think that she had a strong sense of presence. After the meal, the group ate dessert downstairs in the main hall. Of course, only Jiang Rui ate the dessert. The others each held a cup of tea in their hands. At this moment, Grandma Jiang suddenly said, "Today's family banquet can be considered an official meeting with Xiaoyan. While everyone is here, I have something to say." Everyone waited quietly for Grandma Jiang to continue. Grandma Jiang put down the teacup in her hand and held Xuyan's hand. As you all know, if it weren't for Xiaoyan, this old woman's life would have been forfeited 3 years ago. Back then, Grandma Jiang would appear on Xuyan's path from the county town to the sparsely populated home. It was only when the fifth master of the Jiang family was in a car accident and was on the verge of death that she heard that there was a godly doctor there and wanted to invite him to save her life. However, she was old. If she were to say it out loud, her family would definitely not let her go. She had gone there secretly. Up to this day, no one in the Jiang family except for the fifth master of the Jiang family knew that she had gone to look for a doctor for the fifth master of the Jiang family. They only thought that she was looking for an old friend. When Xuan met Grandma Jiang, She was bitten on the calf by a poisonous snake that ran out from the bushes by the roadside. If Xuan had not arrived in time to help her with this simple treatment and immediately sent her to the county hospital to get a serum, she might have lost her life. At that time, Grandma Jiang was alone. Xuan originally wanted to help her contact her family, but Grandma Jiang did not let her. She said that she did not want her family to worry. In fact, Grandma Jiang wanted to stay and continue to look for a godly doctor. After the snake venom was cleaned, she could go home to rest. Grandma Jiang was unwilling to contact her family, so she requested that Xuan bring her home. Perhaps Grandma Jiang made Xuan think of her deceased grandmother. Or perhaps Xuan had lived alone for too long and was a little tired of living alone. Either way, she agreed. Then, Grandma Jiang stayed at her house for half a month. Coincidentally, it was during summer vacation. Xuan had nothing else to do, so she could take care of her. In the end, Grandma Jiang did not find the so-called godly doctor. She was picked up by someone. It was not anyone from the Jiang family who picked her up. It was Grandma Jiang who called her trusted aides to pick her up. It was not until she was brought back to the Jiang family in Sea City that the rest of the Jiang family found out about this matter. Therefore, Xuan didn't see anyone from the Jiang family before she came to Sea City. Mother told us about this matter, and we have always kept it in mind, Fang Xiaoyu said, looking at Xuan gratefully. Xiaoyan, you saved Mom. Our Sea City's Jiang family owes you a huge favor. It's just that it's too much for an outsider to talk about favors all the time, so I won't talk nonsense. From now on, you can treat this place as your home, and stay here as long as you want. If you need anything, just ask. Don't be shy. Xuan smiled appropriately. Thank you, Second Madam. You're welcome. Also, don't call me Second Madam. I heard that you've been on very good terms with Ruya recently, so you followed Ruya and called me Second Aunt. Call me Aunt Fang. Before Fang Xiaoyu could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by Grandma Jiang. Seeing that the others were looking at her in confusion, Grandma Jiang said calmly, Follow Ruya and call your second aunt. How should Xiaoyan address Ruer's parents? Don't use these rules to restrict Xiaoyan. Just let Xiaoyan call uncle, aunt, or uncle as she pleases. Fang Xiaoyu's face was full of confusion. Didn't Grandma Jiang always say that she treated Xuan as her own granddaughter? Wasn't she afraid that Xuan would feel uncomfortable if she did not feel cordial when she came to their house? Wouldn't calling her second aunt be more cordial? Calling uncle or auntie would be too much of an outsider. For a moment, she did not understand what Grandma Jiang meant. The others were confused, but Xuan, the person involved, was the calmest. She obediently called out, Aunt Fang. Aunt Fang it was. It was better than the second madam. Thinking of this, Fang Xiaoyu smiled and said, That's right. Calling me second madam is for outsiders. Grandma Jiang said, Xiaoyan is my savior and my favorite junior. When she is studying in Haicheng, she will stay in the old house during her holidays or weekends. When I am not at home, I will help take care of her. There were very few people who did not stay at university. Even Jiang Rui had to stay at university. That was why Grandma Jiang said that she would stay here during her holidays and weekends. You will stay here for 4 years of university? Gong Xiangxiang suddenly asked in an agitated tone. Everyone was looking at her with some disapproval in their eyes, especially Grandma Jiang. Her displeasure was expressed on her face. Gong Xiangxiang quickly smiled and said, What I mean is, since you like Xiaoyan so much, Mom, how can it be enough for her to stay at home for 4 years? If she wants to stay in Haicheng after graduation, she can also continue to stay at home. Naturally, this way there might be some jealous people gossiping behind her back. Why don't you set up a banquet to officially acknowledge Xiaoyan as your granddaughter? That way, no matter how long she stays at home, she will have a legitimate name, and no one would dare to gossip. Upon hearing her suggestion, Fang Xiaoyu said excitedly, It just so happens that I don't have a daughter. I can let Xiaoyan have my name. That way I'll also have a daughter. That's not appropriate. No way. However, it was the two of them who spoke at the same time. Chapter 19. Did not agree to the proposal. The former was Xuan, and the latter was Grandma Jiang. Their reaction surprised everyone, especially that of Grandma Jiang. No one had expected her to object to the proposal. Kong Xiangxiang frowned slightly. Grandma Jiang indeed had the idea of matchmaking this orphan girl from the countryside with her son, which was why she did not agree to be her god-granddaughter. If not for Grandma Jiang's intention, she would have admired Xuan a little. It was indeed admirable for an orphan from the countryside to have such looks and bearing. However, it was a different story if she was to be her daughter-in-law. She would not be able to get through just based on her family background. If her son was only from an ordinary aristocratic family, it would be fine. However, her son was the future head of the Jiang family in Sea City. The other half of her son would have to have a substantial backer, not to mention help her son. At the very least, she would have the ability to take charge when there was a sudden crisis. This was only because his beauty and temperament were not enough. He had to have the ability and a place where he could seek help. It was still unclear whether Xuan had that ability. After all, she was still young and had room to grow up. However, Xuan was an orphan girl from the countryside. If something happened to her, she would have nowhere to find help. A few days ago, she received a silk scarf from Grandma Jiang. She said that it was a welcome gift from Xuan. She had a good impression of Xuan. She felt that she was a child who understood etiquette and had good taste, until she heard the rumors outside that the old lady intended to matchmake Xuan and her son. Then her impression of Xuan changed a little. However, after a meal, her impression of Xuan changed. Xuan was not a person who liked to stand out. It could be seen from the fact that she had been quietly listening to others while eating. Moreover, she had an indifferent and lustless temperament. Even so, she still wanted to prevent Grandma Jiang from matchmaking Xuan and her son. After all, Xuan might not have any intentions towards this, but Grandma Jiang might. Anyone with eyes could see Grandma Jiang's fondness for Xuan. It was impossible to disagree with Xuan living in the old residence. She could not oppose Grandma Jiang on such a small matter, so she came up with a proposal to let the old lady accept Xuan as her god-granddaughter. If she officially accepted Xuan as her god-granddaughter, she would be a member of the Jiang family. In the future, the Jiang family would prepare a generous dowry for her when she got married, and she would also have a share of the family property, although it would not be much. She was willing to give both the dowry and a small share of the family property. As long as Xuan became Grandma Jiang's granddaughter, it would be impossible for her to be with her son. She originally thought that only Grandma Jiang would oppose her proposal, but she did not expect Xuan to oppose it as well. Could it be that such an elegant girl, who did not have any desire in her eyes, also had feelings for her son? Was it not Grandma Jiang's wishful thinking? Her son was very outstanding. Xuan was young, so it was understandable that she liked outstanding men. However, she still felt displeased and had the feeling that she had misjudged this person. Luckily, her opinion of this girl had changed just now. Under the others' gazes, Grandma Jiang looked at Xuan as if she was not surprised by her reaction at all. I treat Xiaoyan as my own granddaughter. As long as our own family knows about it and lets others see it, there's no need for us to hold a formal ceremony to formally acknowledge her as my granddaughter. The Jiang family is not an ordinary family. When we formally acknowledge her as our granddaughter, we have to split our wealth. It's not that I'm reluctant to part with this little bit of wealth, but if we really acknowledge her as our granddaughter, how would outsiders view Xiaoyan? They might even think that Xiaoyan is here for our family's wealth. If Xiaoyan really wants this property, I will make the decision to give it to her in private. However, I am certain that Xiaoyan will not want it. Xuan smiled at Grandma Jiang, obviously agreeing with her words. Grandma Jiang lovingly patted the back of her hand and said, Since Xiaoyan doesn't want it, there is no need to carry such a name to give people an excuse to suspect her. Xuan will live here when she is still in school in Haicheng. If Xuan chooses to stay in Haicheng after graduation and still lives here, whoever dares to say that her name is not legitimate, I will personally go and talk to him. But Kong Xiangxiang wanted to say something else, but was stopped by Jiang Qing. Holding her hand and shaking her head, Kong Xiangxiang reluctantly shut her mouth. Grandma Jiang glanced at Kong Xiangxiang and said to Xuan, "It's settled then. Xiaoyan, you will live here from now on. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. You promised to help Grandma Jiang. How can you help if you don't live at home?" Xuan smiled when she heard that. "Grandma Jiang, look at you. You seem to be afraid that I will refuse. I have food and shelter in the Jiang family. I don't have to worry about anything. I can't wait to live here forever. Why would I refuse? In fact, if it weren't for Grandma Jiang's repeated invitations, she wouldn't have planned to stay in the Jiang family. It was only because she couldn't refuse Grandma Jiang's good intentions that she agreed to stay in the Jiang family. However, even if she agreed to stay in the Jiang family, she had originally planned to stay until the start of school. She would stay in the school when school started. She didn't expect that there would be a change so soon. She didn't stay here to help Grandma Jiang. She stayed here to help herself. The fifth master of the Jiang family didn't leave his house. If she didn't stay here, it would be difficult for her to even meet him, let alone talk about anything else. She didn't procrastinate when she did things. Once she set her mind on something, she would act immediately. Moreover, once she set her mind on something, she wouldn't change it easily. This wasn't her evaluation of herself. Many people said the same thing about her. However, most of them used words like stubborn to describe her. "Then I'll be disturbing you from now on." Xuan's words were not meant for Grandma Jiang alone, but for everyone present. "What do you mean by disturbing you?" "Xiaoyan, I'm so happy that you can live in the old house. I'll have company from now on. Not only will I have company at school, I'll also have company at home." Jiang Rui was happy from the bottom of her heart. In fact, she was also curious as to why Grandma Jiang was looking for Xuan to help, but she did not ask much. She thought that Grandma Jiang must have mentioned it when she was talking to Xuan alone on the way to the main building. Since Grandma Jiang did not want others to know, she would not ask. Anyway, she would know when she should know. It could be seen that there was a reason why Jiang Rui was so open-minded. She had never been a narrow-minded person. She lived thoroughly and easily. Jiang Cheng took a look at Jiang Rui and opened his mouth, which was rare. "In that case, Miss She, you can live in the old mansion in peace from now on. If you need anything, just say it. Don't be a stranger. I still have some work to do in the study. Please excuse me." Then he looked at Jiang Rui. "Ruier, are you leaving?" Jiang Rui looked at Jiang Sheng and then at Xuan. She was a little hesitant. "You don't want your phone?" Jiang Rui suddenly understood. "Oh, right, brother. If you didn't tell me, I would have forgotten. I left my phone with you." She apologized to Xuan. "I'm sorry, Xiaoyan. I have to go get my phone. I can't go back to the yard with you. My brother went out in the afternoon. He picked up my phone and locked it in the cabinet. I can't get it. You don't know how hard it has been for me to go without my phone for the past few hours." "It's okay. I'll go back with Grandma Jiang later," Xuan said with a faint smile. Jiang Rui had already been held up by Jiang Sheng. She quickly waved to the others. "Dad, Mom, second uncle, and second aunt, brother, and I will leave first. You guys should go back and rest as soon as possible. Grandma is too old to stay up too late." It could be seen that her mother had a prejudice against Xiaoyan. Then she should disperse as soon as possible and not let her mother stay in the same space as Xiaoyan. Otherwise, she would not be here to keep an eye on her. She was really a little worried. Kong Xiangxiang saw through Jiang Rui's intentions and glared at her. There wasn't much blame in her eyes. It was obvious that she doted on her daughter, Jiang Rui. Seeing her look over, Jiang Rui even stuck out her tongue playfully at her. Kong Xiangxiang glared at her again. Unfortunately, Jiang Rui was pulled away by Jiang Sheng and couldn't receive her warning anymore. Xuan saw the interaction between the mother and daughter. She picked up the teacup and took a sip. There was a faint smile on her lips. There were many unexpected surprises in Haicheng. Meeting Jiang Rui, the likable girl, was one of them. Chapter 20. A chance encounter at an embroidery shop. For the next 2 days, Xuan did not leave the house. She only went to the courtyard with Jiang Rui occasionally. However, every time she went for a walk in the courtyard, Xuan would subconsciously go to the pavilion in the lotus pond. Unfortunately, other than the servants who occasionally passed by, she did not see anyone. On the 3rd day, at Jiang Rui's request, Xuan accompanied her to the embroidery shop that she had mentioned before. After getting out of the car, the two of them walked into the alley. Jiang Rui glanced at the dark alley with only 2 or 3 pedestrians and the dilapidated shops on both sides, sighing. This place is really hidden. No wonder I haven't found an embroidery shop here for so many years. The things in this shop are so good. Why didn't the owner choose a more conspicuous shop? Business must be good that way. It was probably because the boss here did not sell embroidery for a living. Many people wanted to find a quiet place to retire after experiencing prosperity. They would do some small business, but it was not for a living, just for fun. Xuan did not say that even though she was thinking about it. She only smiled and said, "Maybe the boss has feelings for the old shop and is reluctant to leave." Jiang Rui thought about it and felt that it made sense. Although this alley was desolate, if it was the natives here, they definitely didn't lack money. "Are we almost there?" Jiang Rui asked. "It's just around the corner." They could actually get in the car, but the alley was narrow and inconvenient to drive in. That was why they chose to get out of the car at the entrance of the alley and walk over. After a while, the two of them arrived at the embroidery shop. The words Shen's Embroidery House were written on the wooden plaque. Standing at the entrance of the shop, Jiang Rui was very surprised. Embroidery house? It was not her fault for being surprised. Not every embroidery shop was worthy of the word embroidery house. The shop was not big, but the old house here should have a facade and the design of the inner courtyard. The size of the inner courtyard could not be seen from the outside. Because it is a unique skill, every piece of embroidery was made by Master and me, so this can be considered our own embroidery house. A woman in her 20s walked out of the shop. She was wearing a light-colored kipao, and her hair was tied with a hairpin. Her temperament was very special. She smiled and asked, "Do you two want to come in and take a look?" Then her gaze fell on Xuan, and surprise flashed in her eyes. "Ah, I remember you. You came to our shop before, right? About 20 days ago." Shen Yuying had a deep impression of Xuan, because even though Xuan was wearing ordinary clothes, the ancient charm on her body could not be hidden. She had the charm of a lady from an ancient aristocratic family more than someone like her, who wore a cheongsam all day long. Moreover, Xuan was very beautiful. She was not the kind of person who was stunning at a glance, but it was enough for people to remember her. In addition, there were not many customers in the shop usually, and most of them were regular customers. Therefore, Shen Yuying had a deep impression of Xuan, so much so that she still remembered her after so many days. Xuan smiled and nodded. "Yes." "You still remember when someone came to your shop 20 days ago? You have a good memory," Jiang Rui praised. "There are not many customers in the shop?" As she said this, Shen Yuying smiled politely. "Do you two want to come in and take a look?" As the two of them walked into the shop, Shen Yuying said, "The embroidery in the shop is all made by me and my master. It's a unique skill, and the fabric is also of high quality. See if there are any that you like. There's an important guest in the inner court. My master is serving him alone. I'll go and help with the tea. Please let me know when you're done. By the way, my name is Shen Yuying." She only said that much and didn't try to sell anything. After saying that, she smiled at the two of them and slightly leaned over. Then she turned around and walked into the inner court. "This shop is really interesting. There's no one left to look after the shop. Aren't you afraid that we'll run away without paying?" It was the first time Jiang Rui had seen people doing business in such a Buddhist way. It was very novel. Xuan smiled lightly and pointed at the camera in the shop. Jiang Rui said, "Well, it's my fault for being small. However, this shop is a little special. The other shops would like to praise their own products so much that they wouldn't even praise them when their embroidery is so good." It was not the first time that Xuan had come to this shop. She was already used to the style of the shop, so her reaction was not as big as Jiang Rui's. However, she agreed with what Jiang Rui said. The business of this shop was indeed very special. She looked at Jiang Rui and said with a faint smile, "Let's see if there's anything you like first. If there is, then buy it. Didn't you say that you wanted to come and have a look? Then let me have a look. Don't tell me that the things here are really not bad. Xiaoyan, do you want to have a look?" Xiyan wanted to say that there was no need. She just wanted to accompany her to have a look, but she suddenly saw a white handkerchief embroidered with bamboo not far away. It was very simple and had clean embroidery. She walked over and picked it up. After rubbing it a few times, she said, "I want this one. I won't look at anything else." Jiang Rui glanced at the handkerchief in her hand and said, "Bamboo is elegant and pure. It suits you quite well. Since you don't want to watch for anything else, go over there to sit down and rest. Wait for me as I look around for a while." Xian didn't insist. She walked over to the sofa in the shop for customers to rest on and sat down. She held the handkerchief in her hand and studied it carefully. A faint smile appeared on the corner of her lips. After about half an hour, Jiang Rui finally picked out what she wanted, which was quite a lot. Jiang Rui was a discerning person. She could tell at a glance whether the stuff was good or not. She liked this and that too. Also, as she was mostly picking out gifts for her relatives and friends, it was hard for her not to get some snacks for free, so naturally she spent some time. "Xiaoyan, I've chosen!" Just as she was about to call the boss to settle the bill, she suddenly heard movement from the inner courtyard. "It's rare for you to come here. Why don't you sit down for a while before leaving? Why are you in such a hurry?" Xian could hear the boss's voice. It was that of Shen Yuying's master. "I'll come to see you again when I have time." A man's voice was mellow and clear. It was very pleasant to hear. Xian was stunned when she heard this voice. Jiang Rui said, "Why do I feel that this voice sounds a little familiar? Didn't you say that you would come visit me again when you have time? It's already good enough that you can come to my place once a year. I don't know what kind of wind blew you here today, but it's so rare for you to come here. You haven't even sat down for a few minutes and you have to leave again." The man did not respond to her, only said, "Thank you for the pastries. If I didn't have the skills to make pastries, would you not even want to come to my door?" The man did not respond to her. Then, the sound of a wheelchair rolling could be heard in the silence. Xuan stood up from the sofa. At this moment, someone pushed the wheelchair out of the backyard and bumped into Xuan and Jiang Rui. Fifth uncle?" Jiang Rui was stunned. The man sitting in the wheelchair was wearing a white shirt. There was a button loose at the collar of the shirt, and one could vaguely see the delicate collarbone. His outstanding face was a little sickly pale, and his temperament was elegant and gentle. He glanced at Jiang Rui and then turned his eyes to Xuan, who was beside Jiang Rui. Their eyes met. When they met again, the girl was still dressed in simple clothes, but her waist-length black hair was tied up, and it was not as loose as before. Compared to when they first met, Xuan was more reserved and experienced. "Do you know each other?" Shen Yuying, who followed them out, asked in surprise.